Welcome to Finding Alignment, where we will be having conversations on business, wellness, and relationships for living a more aligned life. I'm your host, Megan Romine, real estate professional, lifelong learner, and speaker. Each time I'm in the studio, I sit down with entrepreneurs, best-selling authors, and everyday high achievers to unpack the habits, boundaries, and mindset shifts that fuel sustainable success. Whether you're growing a business, nurturing relationships, or simply protecting your peace, this show is here to help you take one aligned step forward. Let's dive in. Okay, you guys, today we have Erica Arrechea from Cinqe Matchmaking. She is the owner and founder of Cinqe Matchmaking. Erica, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here and to have a little chat with you. This will be fun. We're going to have fun.
Yes, and just for our audience, a little bit about Erica and her company. They are one of the top matchmaking companies in the nation, in the world. They work with the top 1% for matchmaking and all across the board. Erica, do you want to give any more feedback or information on your company that you've built?
Absolutely. I mean, we started in 2010, I believe. My background is in marketing and sales, and I remember going on dates and thinking, hey, I can do this a lot better. And that was almost 15 years ago. And since then, we've amassed almost 8 to 10 full-time matchmakers along the way. And I'm excited to share why we're a little unique and hopefully give you guys some good takeaways here today.
I love that. And I just have to say, personally, I mean, your company and your matchmakers, I mean, this is the real deal. Like, I just want people to know that first and foremost, because I know there's like a lot of different matchmaking companies out there. I'm sure there's different tiers, and Erica can go into this if she would like to. For people that sign up that aren't in the free database, I mean, this is definitely an investment. But we're talking people that anyone that's listening, names that you know, people that you know, household names. Matchmaking isn't just specified for one specific group of people. And one of Erica's matchmakers put it really well the other day. Laura had mentioned, we had a conversation, and it's like, well, if someone is like really, really well known, and maybe they have accumulated like a large amount of wealth, like, well, why do you think they would need a matchmaker? And her answer was so great, because it's like, no one needs a matchmaker, but it's to be able to find some of the best and to be able to make highest and best use of your time. But Erica, if you want to chime in a little bit on that.
We get that question a lot. We get, well, why would somebody need to hire a matchmaker, or, what they can't get a date? That's a common thing that people assume with hiring this type of service, but they have to understand that the type of clients that hire us they're just outsourcing their personal lives to someone. They're very used to outsourcing. They have a chef who makes some meals. They have an assistant who's running around scheduling things. They have a travel agent. And so it is very in line with hiring somebody for their personal lives to help vet. So most of our clients get too many dates. I mean, if I shared the names of some of our past members, I mean, people would be like, oh my God, like that's one of the most famous, attractive, wealthy human being out there. It's not, and they would know it immediately. They get too many dates. Like, they have too much coming at them. And it's nice to hire someone to talk to about it instead of their assistant or their best friend or their sister. They essentially get a bunch of wing women who are helping them navigate, helping them weed out, even if they get messages in their DMs or, people that they meet out and about at a Starbucks. How do I know this person is real? They get to, text with their matchmaking team and say, hey, I met this girl. What do you think I should tell her? What do you think I should send her as a gift? Or, what does that next step look like? Should I call her after the date? So we're essentially there for anything in their personal life. If we have the match, we always, we're setting them up constantly, but it expands beyond that. We even have talked to them about their, problems with their children. I mean, everything. So, yeah, that's essentially what a really good matchmaker does. And like what you had touched on earlier, Megan, was that we are at the higher tier. There are many business models with matchmaking. There are many business models, and none of them are right and none of them are wrong. They're just different. There's one company that I was just talking about yesterday where they actually don't show photos. They don't show photos. The business model of that company is really interesting. The matchmaker essentially only gets compensated once people meet. So they try and share as least information as possible to make sure that their clients get on enough dates. And that works great if you aren't that picky, if you live in a small area, if your budget is really tiny. Older people, senior citizens, that's great for them because they're essentially getting matched on hobbies and travel plans. But again, that's not wrong. But there are different levels where you get more and more information, you get more detailed, you get pickier, and so going with any matchmaking service, just as long as you're connecting. I'm always applauding people. I'm like, it's okay if that's your budget and you want to go with them. Absolutely. I just love when people are still connecting. Like that's important.
Yeah.
So many different
I have
models
to
out
say
there.
that I have full trust in your business and like your matchmakers and even, some of my high-end clients. And aside from looking for
Right.
houses, some of them want to find love too. And, I've been able to connect and I have full confidence in the service that you guys offer. And, it's not for everyone. To your point, what you had said about there's matchmakers, that's so interesting. They don't get paid unless they meet, because I have matchmakers that come up to me and they're like, oh, I really need you to meet this guy. They're not going to show me a photo. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm too busy. I can't waste my time. I mean, not saying that it's all about what
Yes.
someone looks like, but there needs to be some level of understanding before going on a date. That's just my opinion.
Yes, yes. I would say I have done matches where I couldn't show a photo. I think you talked about privacy earlier. There have been a handful of members where their team specifically said we cannot circulate an image of our client. You can, share who they are and all that. And so it's very rare. It's rare that we do that, but it does happen. I've actually made marriages not showing photos, just sharing the values and and the trust, building trust with both of those people, saying, I cannot show a photo of one of you guys, so I'm not going to do it for both of you. You're both just going to have to trust me. And it's worked out, but it's very rare that happens. But the majority of the time, a luxury matchmaking firm will show photos or any other details that are necessary to make people feel comfortable.
And I have to say too
it is
that you
rare.
guys are so amazing with discretion, even with the clients that you have. And if
We
you're sending
try.
it to a potential match, like that, that woman may not really know like who that person is, and it may be a household name that they just don't know. You guys are just so good with dealing with high net worth clients, and I just think it's very commendable because everything that you guys do is top tier. So I can't like say that enough. And I wanted to ask a few questions. So like in dating today, what are some of the common mistakes that you see men and women make when they're dating?
I think that people, like right from the beginning, a common mistake I see that people are using bad photos. I mean, I know that's really a simple one to fix, but I will sing that till the day I die because we're in such a visual age. People are using old photos or photos that don't look like them. Just be honest with that. I also think a lot of people are texting each other to death to death before they meet. And they're making assumptions about somebody that they've never met. And they are assuming that this person wants to entertain them. And this is how you build a relationship. That's not the case. People want connection, especially women. We're not looking to be virtual girlfriends. We just want to meet you. Texting should be a tool for scheduling. It should not be a way to create intimacy before you meet. So get to the point, get to that in-person date is really important. So those are the two things that I see a lot. I mean, there's a lot of things that people are doing wrong, but we don't have hours.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And then when it
Yeah.
comes to, do you find that people end up with their, let's say, quote unquote, checklist? Everyone has it. If they're single, they have this checklist in their mind. Maybe it's the top 3 non-negotiables. Some people, as we know, have like a laundry list based on
Of
your
course.
profession and the amount of time that you've been doing this. Do people actually end up with what they have on that checklist, or what does that look like?
So it's rare that they get everything. I think that it's important to have a checklist and to have your values and not compromising on your values. But there are a few things on your checklist that you should be a little flexible with. So for instance, if you have, I want a woman who's in this location, and maybe that's something that you can be flexible with, maybe go outside of that geography deal breaker and, see what is in the next state, or, go date in a different area. That's a really big one. Is I've seen, and we prepare our members so well before they start dating. In the onboarding process, we really let them know that, hey, be a little open, because you would be surprised. Maybe she's a little taller than you had wanted, or a little shorter, or instead of being, 30 to 40, maybe she's 41, or maybe she's 29. So we're going to be just a little bit flexible, not crazy, but just a little bit enough to open up your parameters just to see if there is somebody else out there that could be your soulmate. Because in 15 years, the majority of the time, it's always that one thing that is just, didn't really want him to have a child, but okay, I'll go out with him. And it ended up being the love of their life. Oh, I really just wanted someone who lived in New York. That's a place I really wanted to go, but he actually lived in Chicago, and it was the love of her life. But it hit everything else. It was just something else that really opened up their search parameters. So I see that a lot.
Do you ever
A
find
lot.
anything aside from maybe geographical location? And because most of your members are males, you do have females, but most of your members are males.
Absolutely.
Are you ever encouraging men to maybe go outside of like their typical type? And how does that work, or how has that worked in the past?
Yes and no. So we always tell our members, you're the captain of the boat. We are, your sailors, and you have to tell us where to go, and we can give you guidance if you want it. A lot of the people that hire us don't. These are very high achieving people, and they've hired us for a specific purpose, not for our advice,
Makes
unless they
sense.
want it. So they usually have their checklist, and we really try and hit it, and we don't try and veer off of it if they are very, very strict on it. But we'll share with them. Most of the time, it has to be their idea. So for instance, we had a client the other day who met this woman from a country he said he didn't want to date. And she was absolutely lovely. Met her at a party. He called us that next morning and said, I met this woman from that country that I said I wouldn't date. She was absolutely lovely, accomplished all the things that I'm looking for. I've decided I want to open it up more. And we're like, that's fantastic. Mazel tov. You came to the conclusion. You're living in an area where a lot of those women live. So let's now, dive into that. So we'll lightly suggest those things, but a lot of the times they kind of have to come to their own conclusion. We hope that they asked our advice, but most of the time, Megan, they don't want it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, and typically, the type of clientele, they have built success based upon their intuition, what they've been doing, and they're paying for a premium service for you guys, and you can deliver results. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing, is that you can deliver results for them, and the credibility that you guys have. Erica, what advice do you have for people that are out there that are getting burned out from dating in today's
Mm-hmm.
age?
Yes. There's a lot of burnout, and that's okay. Everybody, I think, comes to that point where they had a few dates that weren't what they expected. Um, Take a detox, take a 30-day detox, set your calendar, re-engage with your community, lean into your friends, lean into your family, maybe join some matchmaking services and let them know I'm only looking for a specific thing. But burnout happens to a lot of people, and taking a step back and taking that detox and finding people another way rather than just doing a bunch of dates online, I think is absolutely ideal, and it happens to everyone, so it's all right. It's all
Yeah,
right.
I definitely think too with the day and age of dating apps. And what are your thoughts on the dating apps?
I love them, absolutely. If you have the time, again, like I said, get good photos. But I have seen a lot of success with dating apps. My dentist found her love on Tinder many years ago, and I've seen so many friends find success. If your area is a small pool of people, and you have the time, you enjoy it, you're good at it, which means that you are direct, you get right to the point, you don't text people, you don't over text people, you can make a plan, you meet, you verify the night before that, hey, we're going to meet here, I'm looking forward to seeing you. You're good at getting to the date, you're organized, and then you're on time. I think you have to gain trust with a complete stranger, and that starts
And
with
how do you I was going to
respecting.
say, how do you feel that you build trust with a stranger?
Yeah, yeah, that's going to be being on time. Showing up on time is the easiest thing that you can do to build trust with somebody that you have just met, whether you met them at the gym, or you were asked out online, or a friend set you up. Being on time, being a little early is ideal. Not too early, but just early enough where you can show that you're excited to be there and you're really taking it seriously, will go a long way. So,
Yeah, that makes sense. And I have two other questions. One would be advice that you would give females that they're out there and they're searching. We have men and women have different timelines. It just is what it is. It's biologically.
yeah.
And what advice would you give women? Do you think that it's more of a numbers game when it comes to dating? Like, oh, you need to continue to go on X amount of dates? Or what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
So it kind of depends on your age range, what your goals are. So if you're a 30-year-old woman who wants to get married and, have a family for the first time, that would be different other than, a 50-year-old who's coming out of divorce. Her values have changed over many years, and she may be looking not to get married right away, but looking for somebody who makes her feel safe and maybe has some extra time to travel with her. Maybe she's been successful too. So it depends on your age range. But if you're a 30-year-old looking for love and looking for that guy, I would take it pretty seriously. I would make sure that, again, you're consistent in dating. If you don't like a guy, let him know immediately, and give guys a chance that you never thought. So I know, Megan, we've talked about this, but I met my husband many years before I started dating him. And I remember thinking, oh, he's cute, but I don't know. I'm not really sure. And so I continued to date other men that were just, it was not great. And I'm like, what am I doing? I know a really great guy. He's not in my state, but I remember meeting him. I remember thinking his presence was fantastic. He was safe. He was sweet. I need to give him a chance. And I gave somebody a chance who I probably wouldn't have if I was at a different stage in life. And so I always tell people my story when I'm, talking to women, because I think it's important to give men that you may already know, a little bit of a second look. Really consider it. Talk to their family or talk to their friends and see if maybe they might be interested in getting a cup of coffee and seeing if something develops. But the
I
women later in life. Yeah, go ahead.
And I was just going to say that I think it's important, at least from my experience, maybe don't write someone off right after the first date. I mean, there are clear factors where if you're like, okay, this isn't going to work. But
Facts.
my thoughts, I'd love to hear your thoughts. My thoughts are, let's say you go
Yes.
into a first date, maybe there's a little bit of nerves and like it was fine, but you were like, oh, I don't feel like over the moon. I feel like a lot of women would just be like, oh, well, like that's not going to be my person. Where I feel like maybe you should try to go on a couple more dates and see how things go. What are your thoughts on that?
That's so true. That is so true. I see a lot of women who almost don't say yes to the second date. And we'll get on the phone with them and we'll say, hey, John Smith had a really great time with you. I saw your feedback that you're really probably not going to consider a second date because you didn't feel the pool of attraction, but that hasn't worked out for you before. Why don't you at least go get coffee with him or maybe, walk around the town with him, do something different rather than sitting across the table and having another dinner, type interview date, but really change it up and see if you see a different side of him that you think you might have not seen before. So I can't tell you how many times that has gone well because we want to think of this guy as this, strapping young lad with who's makes millions of dollars and does all the right things. Sometimes these guys are nervous. I have some of the most attractive, successful men, and they are still insecure and they still go on the date and mess it up. They still do things that afterward they're like, ladies, you will not believe what I did. I don't know why I said that. I don't know why that came out. And I guarantee you she's probably not interested. We'll get on the phone with her and she'll be like, dude, this guy, you would not believe. We're like, we know what he did. He's so sorry. He did not mean, I promise that's not him. Just give him another chance. They're like, okay. They're like, I'm so
How do
sorry.
you find that men typically maybe accidentally sabotage some of their own dates, or not even just dates, like dating
Yeah.
life in general? Do you think that there are men out there that want a serious relationship, but maybe if there's a connection and things are going great, they kind of like self-sabotage and things like that
All the
happen?
time.
Really?
All the time. They're confused. They're confused. Men are confused. Sometimes it's not even their fault. I have a client right now. He has four coaches. Four coaches. He is getting four different feedback and information because he has essentially hired people for different things in his life, and he's telling them all these different things, and he's getting all different kinds of advice that are very confusing for him. So they're confused. They don't know what to do in a situation when they've been asked a question. Instead of maybe they're too honest, which you can essentially, you could ruin a date by oversharing on what has happened in the past or oversharing on, maybe bringing up psychedelics. I don't know why. I think I was telling you the story. Sometimes
Yes.
people will overshare about their experiences in life. And, their date is like, this is not somebody who, and he wants a relationship, but somehow it's not coming across on that first date. He is way oversharing about past experiences with drugs, and there's no way to build romance. And he didn't mean to. He doesn't know why he would bring it up. So
Just a reminder, like maybe not a first
people,
date conversation, right? Like maybe on the third date or the fourth date if you want to talk about it. But first date, maybe just keep things a little lighter.
and we'll tell them that we'll set them up for so much success, but they still will do things wrong. And it doesn't make them a bad guy. They get nervous. They overtalk. Women do it too.
I agree with
Women will
that.
often
Overtalk.
pay. I've seen women who offer to pay because they're confused and they want him to know that they appreciate
I
him. And
used
so
to
it
be
comes,
that person.
yeah, it's
That
okay.
used to be me. Cause like I'd feel bad or like, oh, I need to make sure that they understand, you know what I mean? And like, no, that's like messing up the dynamics. My opinion personally is you don't do that. You let a man be a man.
Yeah. When the check comes, you touch his arm, you touch his shoulder, you touch his leg, and you look at him in the eyes and you go, thank you so much. This was so lovely meeting you today. Thank you for dinner, or thank you for my drink.
Yes.
And that's what they want. They don't want you to bring out your wallet because you need to stay in your feminine. And now you've confused him because now he thinks, oh man, this is modern dating. Am I supposed to go 50-50? Does she want that? I really like her. I'm confused now. And so I've had clients let the woman pay, or, for the second date or the third date, by accident, because they were confused in that moment. So it's not, again, not that they're a bad man. They had a moment where they're had a drink and their mind has slipped, and they like the person and they want to show that. And so they want to accept, what you think is acceptable.
But I think it's a
It's
great
very
reminder
confusing.
too, for especially like successful women, and you want to maybe like feel like, for me, the reason why I was doing it's like I kind of like for some reason like felt bad, like, oh, if I know this is like an expensive dinner and like I at least will just like offer. But once again, it goes back to being in your femininity, right? And like I lead all day in work. After work is over with, I don't want to lead. I want to be
Right.
soft and fun, and I had to change my ways.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard. We've paid the piper. We've paid those lessons. Um,
And then
but
also
yeah,
too, what are your thoughts on, um, especially for men, but it can be for women as well. I mean, I'm in South Florida, and I feel like with dating, there's almost unlimited options in some of these areas. And how do you find that that can affect maybe, with a man? And like, yes, maybe he doesn't want to settle down right away, but he does want to find someone that he can build a life with. But there's so many different options. And then it starts to become a cycle. What are your thoughts on that?
so I was talking to one of our matchmakers yesterday, and she was telling me about coaching with a client. And this guy's been with us for maybe 2 years. Very, very successful, and handsome, tall, beautiful head of hair. And he was like, why don't you think I found love? And her answer was, it's not that you don't have choices. You have to just select one that you like, and you have to be consistent. You have to kind of go for it. You have to be intentional. You're getting too many options, and you keep thinking the grass is greener. And now you're 24 months and just to continue to date. And so he did. He listened to her advice, and he scheduled, I think, a third date, which he hasn't done in a while. And he's going for it. That's what he essentially was sharing with her. He's like, I'm going to do it. I was like, you're getting too excited about what's next and what's next, and you're not seeing what's in front of you. A relationship takes a lot of work. People think, oh, the matchmaker did such a great job. And I'm like, I didn't do anything. Yes, we created a brand. Yes, we create trust with strangers around the world to collect sensitive data. But at the end of the day, we make the introduction, and it's up to you to be vulnerable. It's up to you to be consistent with your dating, when you're courting her, and you're not confusing. You can't confuse her. And so it's a choice. Being in a relationship is a choice for these guys, and they have to, put a line in the sand and say, I'm going to at least try for this woman and see what happens. So it's a choice
That
these
is
guys are making.
so true. That has so much truth in what you said. First of all, number one, the grass
Yeah.
isn't always greener on the other side. At some point in time, if you want it, just make a decision. What's the worst that could happen at the end of the day?
Yeah.
It doesn't work out. Well, guess what? You get to go back out there and you try again. And another
Yeah.
thing too, that I think men know this, but for women, and I hear a lot of feedback from my clients that are females, from my friends, maybe they don't understand how much consistency moves forward. So, some guys will be like, oh, well, like, I don't want to text every day or this or that. If a man is texting me every day and staying consistent and his actions line up with that, what he says he does, within reason. Listen, they're very busy, successful men. They have a lot going on, but they follow through with that. Just the consistency alone helps a female feel safe enough to let her guard down.
Momentum at the beginning is everything. You need momentum or else it will go nowhere, or else she or he will know that they were not a priority and they will move on. So it's really important that when people are at the beginning, don't be coy. Don't play games. You're not going to do the wrong thing with the right person. You like them, show up, always have the next date planned.
That's a good one.
And just keep the momentum going.
I love that. Yes, that's amazing. Erica, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you want to add?
No, Megan, you're great. I can't wait for this. You know, we love you. All the girls at Cinqe love you. And so
I love you
we're
guys.
excited, to hear your podcast. But we hope that we gave your followers some really good takeaways on dating out there. Just everybody be consistent and have fun dating. Have a good time with dating. Not everybody you meet is going to be your soulmate, and that's not what it's. You don't meet people just so that everyone is going to be the next person you get married to. So you have to continue to keep dating.
Yeah. And don't have such a high expectation, right? Go into it with an open mind, obviously. And what you want, but just go into an open mind. At the end of the day, the worst thing that's going to happen is you're meeting a new person and maybe you're going to have an interesting conversation. And also too, even for me, if it hasn't worked out with me, someone I've dated, I have connected them with friends of mine that I'm hey, maybe it didn't work for me, but this guy is great. I think one of my friends should meet him. You just never know.
That. That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Share your dates. I like it.
Yeah, giving back, always try to see where you can add value to people.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Well, yeah, this just so you know, Erica, we're getting ready to wrap up. We're going to put out the first season. It's probably the second weekend of October, and we'll have social media deliverables and all of that. And I think that'll be really great. And thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for tuning in to Finding Alignment. If you found this episode helpful, please like and subscribe. I would love if you could leave me a review. And if there's anyone that you would like to hear from on the show, please let us know. Thanks for tuning in.